welcome back to the Natty Scene with me, your tiny titan, host of the Tiny Variety, Vicky Masita, and of course my boy, who is of equally tiny stature. No, I'm joking, really, because he's massive at the moment.
I'm still pretty small.
But you're not tiny, so you can be the small M and I can be the tiny M. Then.
Yeah, that works.
That's it. My boy AJ Morris. Hey AJ.
Hey guys. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. I think everyone was happy to have us back. We got lots of Instagram comments, and I'll just block out the Starbucks noise with the other headphone. Yeah, we got lots of Instagram comments. We got lots of stories. So guys, continue doing that because it only puts us further up the rankings and spreads what we're doing a little bit more. I think it's pretty cool that we just sort of kept it very much the same going into the off season. We haven't really sort of changed much, just like we haven't really changed much with what me and Vicky do in the gym and with regards to our diet and our approach to consistency. We haven't really changed much with the podcast either. So it's good, and I'm very well. I'm much better than I was last week, actually, to be honest, because last week was a bit odd.
You were feeling a bit crappy, weren't you?
Yeah, I found out why.
Oh, go on, why? You haven't told me this.
I was literally putting cinnamon on every fucking meal, right? Every meal. And it wasn't just normal cinnamon, it was the cinnamon that I mentioned in the last... Yeah. Basically, cinnamon, the reason why it's a half decent GDA, or glucose disposal agent, is because it lowers your blood sugar, so it can essentially blunt insulin spikes. And so I was having pretty much with every meal at least 8 grams of cinnamon.
That's a lot.
So
you were in hypo, basically, right?
I said to my mum, I was like, one day I literally came in and I had a meal and I was like, I swear food usually makes me feel better. And I was sat down after the meal like this, and I was like, Mum, is this jet lag?
Jet lag, shaking from jet lag.
And she was like, I don't think that's the usual symptom of jet lag. People sometimes get dizzy, and I was like, well, I'm definitely fucking dizzy right here. I could barely walk. So yeah, it's this week is a stark comparison, basically, because it's so funny how if you make yourself feel complete and utter garbage, which I felt like last week, it's amazing how much difference it feels when you're not feeling like garbage anymore. But then it makes life seem so easy, because I was not only dealing with a bit of jet lag and also still pretty food focused and a little bit hungry, I was also dealing with incredibly fucked blood sugar levels.
That's so funny. You're so insulin sensitive then, if that's the case, if cinnamon's doing that to you. Could you imagine if you took something like an actual GDA, like Matador?
Yeah, but the thing is, I was taking Matador as well. All in the same day.
You were going through the floor.
Yeah. So I was taking Matador and having... so guys, I don't really think you can overdo it too much with cinnamon, so don't worry too much about cinnamon. It's only if you're very lean and you're having a lot of cinnamon and you're having GDAs. I think that's probably where you're going to see some sort of impact on blood sugar.
And you came on your period as well, didn't you? So that didn't help.
Yeah, no, that didn't help either. That that's not a good thing. But yeah, I feel much better. How are you? Because we're going to make this a little bit more focused on you, because last time it was very much about me. So how's this past week gone? But also talk about last weekend as well. I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last weekend.
It was, yeah.
So run us through sort of what happened last weekend, and then take us into this week.
Okay, cool. So I kept it a little bit quiet to the point where I didn't actually tell anybody about it, apart from you, before you went off on your travels to Boston.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I decided, where you get completely jet lagged and high on cinnamon. I basically decided that I wanted to get super strong, and a lot of people were saying to me in the gym of how strong I actually was in comparison to my body weight.
Yeah.
Now, it was funny because as a tiny person, I was always giving myself a hard time because I tend to train with mass monsters, like yourself or like Cooper, who's over here. So he's shy and he won't come into the camera. He won't fit in the camera. He's that much of a rhino. That's the reason why.
Oh. God damn it.
That's it, as he's sopping down orange juice by the carton, by the way. But anyway, yeah, so I tend to train with mass monsters like that. And so I think he just kind of threw up a little bit as well. So because of that, you know, he's squatting like 150 and I'm squatting 80, for example. And I always give myself a hard time because I'm comparing myself to these people. However,
sure,
when I'm in the gym and I've got my headphones in and people come up to me saying, how much do you weigh? I went, like 48 kilos. Bit rude, but okay. About 48 kilos. And then
it's because they're shocked, though.
Yeah, but that's all it is. But I'm genuinely surprised at that. So when people were saying that I'm really strong in relation to my body weight, I decided that I wanted to actually do a little bit more of this. And I love lifting heavy. It's just one of my big passions. So I got in touch with a guy called Phil Roberts, who is the UK strongest man.
Sure.
And I trained with him with Andrew Chappelle up at his gym, which is Titanium Strength in Sheffield. And he was of the same pretense and basically said that I was really strong for my weight and that I should, you know, really kind of do something about it. So he did a few programs for me, which I surpassed his expectations as well. He was telling me to do like a 60k squat, and I was like, oh, that's like a warm up. And it was really easy. So he did all of this and then put me in for a powerlifting competition, which was at his gym, and it was based on Wilks score, which is based against the weight that you lift in comparison to your body weight, and you get given an actual score out of that.
Okay.
So I went into it along with 27 other people who were, I mean, I was the lightest one there, the smallest one there.
How many females did it out of interest?
3, including me.
Okay, that's decent. It's
yeah,
good for a powerlifting meet, isn't it? And a small
Absolutely.
one, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I came in, I just hit 50 kilos because Phil wanted me to get up to 50 kilos throughout the 4 weeks that we were training together. And I said, okay, I'll try my best. It's not like I'm not trying to put on weight, but okay, I'll try. So he wanted me to put on 2 kilos basically in 4 weeks. And I was like, I've been trying to
eat.
Like that, yeah. So I managed to get up to just 50 kilos. He wanted me at 52. And I just managed to put on 2 kilos, basically.
What were you?
2 pounds. 2
No,
pounds.
2, yeah. I was going to say.
2 pounds.
Yeah.
But that was, I weighed in, right, at 10 o'clock in the morning with my squat shoes on, fully dressed.
Yeah.
After a full breakfast, I had like 2 bagels, sausages, bacon, eggs, a shake as well on the way. And
Bloater.
I still only managed to like hit the 50 kilo mark, but I was like, okay, so that'll do. But anyway, cutting a long story short, so I was the lightest one there. The second girl, who was the second lightest, was 58 kilos, so she had 8 kilos on me. And then the heaviest guy was like 140. So that's how big a diversity it was. So squat came up first.
Okay.
And my max squat was 87.5 kilos. So I was pretty damn happy with that. Bench press then came up, and my max lift was 60 kilos, which was the most horrendous bench that you've ever seen. It took me like 5 minutes to get it up.
Do you bench in your normal training at all, or do you do dumbbell work normally?
I do. What do I do actually? No, I do dumbbell work mostly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems to be more preferential, especially for females, because I think the bench press is just something that progresses so slowly. I find a lot of females find it really demotivating, whereas something like a dumbbell move, they can get a little bit more progression with it. They can be a bit more consistent with it. They can control the dumbbells a little bit more. It's less about having body weight behind you. I find the only time that I can like improve my bench press and actually bring it up is when I'm like pretty fat, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the only time. Yeah, that's the only time a bench press has ever felt good for me, is when I'm pretty damn fat.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, move on to obviously deadlift.
Yeah. So I actually put the video of my bench press up there just to show that it did take me 5 minutes, but I still got it, and that was just about determination and perseverance. It's
Yeah.
just like, if you are going to fail, then fail properly. Make it look bloody hard, right?
Fuck.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was. It was so funny. So yeah, if any of you haven't actually seen that video, it's on my Instagram. Just go and have a look at it.
Yeah.
Because it is quite hilarious and awful and disgusting to look at as well, which Andy Sapel actually demonstrated or actually spoke to me about on a number of occasions. So thanks very much for that, Andy, just to say how disgusting that bench press was. I actually beat a couple of guys doing a 60k bench press as well, so I was quite happy with that.
That's wicked.
Not bad, huh?
No.
So that was bench, and then my deadlift. Now deadlifts, that was an interesting one because obviously, as you know, I've had a problem with my hamstring and my glute for a really long time. Coming on to like 6 months now, so I haven't actually or done any kind of deadlift move at all for over 6 months. So this is my first time of going straight into a deadlift.
Fuck! Oh Jesus, what a time to do it, Vic. Jesus.
I know, hardcore, right? So my max deadlift previously, when I weighed 120 odd pounds, I weighed 127 pounds, and my max deadlift was 120 kilos for 5. I went in, and my max deadlift on this time weighing 50 kilos, which is is that 109 pounds? 109 pounds. So I weighed, and I got 105 kilo deadlift. Easy.
Not bad.
Not bad, huh? But I think what helped with that was that I've been incorporating rack pulls a lot, and my rack pulls have gone up to like 140.
Yeah. Wow. Fucking hell. That's really good.
Bad.
Is that above the knee or below?
No, below the knee.
Fuck, that's
below the knee.
Very
Anything above
impressive.
the knee is a bloody shrug.
Well, yeah,
right?
it's not a rack pull.
Just saying.
It's
not a rack pull, it is a shrug.
The only time you could see that being beneficial in a program, in my opinion, is if you are training for the specificity aspect of the very top portion of a deadlift. That's the only place I see it beneficial. Like, if you want to grow a back and you're doing above the knee rack pulls and you're like putting them on Instagram saying like 280 kilos rack pulls, nah, you won't be. You'll be doing jack shit with them, especially if you're bouncing off the pins like half the people that do rack pulls do. Just bounce off the pins every single rep. But anyway.
But yeah, so that was that. But I do think that they really helped me. But getting down from below the knee, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had to progress lower and lower and lower because of the
hamstring.
Because of the hamstring issue, yeah. So I did have to start off really light and then go lower and lower, and obviously just get my weight up on the rack pulls from there. But that did really help. So at the end of it, anyway, I got a Wilks score of like 357, which apparently is very good.
I don't know Wilks, but I imagine that's superb.
It's not bad. Some of the best people in the world apparently only have Wilks scores of like 540 something.
Oh, fucking hell.
So I was like, okay, so that's quite good then. And I was, just a little pleased with my little self. And then when they actually announced the fact that I got third in my first powerlifting comp, I was like, that is so funny.
It's ridiculous.
But
it was good that it was based on Wilks, because that allowed you to obviously come into those top 3 positions against loads of other guys. Yeah, that's wicked.
And it was funny because standing on the podiums, I got all of my gear back on, so I'm there like my tracky bottoms and my big hoodie and everything, stood there like next to a guy called Dom, who's like 140 kilos, who came first, whose deadlift was just incredible, by the way. He just lifted 300 kilo deadlift like it was butter, and it was like, oh, okay. I mean, he's immense, he is immense. So it was just funny just seeing me as that tiny person stood next to these other 2 mass monsters who did really, really well. Yeah, but I mean, what an experience, and it was so good. And what I learned so much about incorporating powerlifting and strongman stuff, because strongman, oh my god, well into strongman at the moment. Things
really?
Like,
wow.
Yeah, love it. Things like farmers carries and power cleans and huge box jumps, high jumps and things like that, because you need a power element. All of those power elements help you in your squat.
Sure.
But doing those just recently, I mean, my deadlifts have come back with a vengeance. I did like 5x5 deadlifts for 90 kilos today, which were great, and incorporating sumo deadlifts. I'm feeling so much better, and I feel strong. And I have to say, girls, all those women out there, right? if you are still curling 5k dumbbells or pressing 5k dumbbells above your head and walking away singing, lift fucking heavier. Right? The pink dumbbells have now gone. If you want to make a change and you want to feel empowered, get strong.
Yeah.
Get strong. All of the best bodybuilders in the world aesthetically are strong as fuck. They really are. I look at your squat, AJ. I mean, how long has it been since you've actually done a heavy squat?
Too long.
Too long.
Felt very fucking weird. About 6 months.
6 months on a heavy squat.
Well, the first time I went in and I tested the water with 140 and I got a decently good set of 8. Bear in mind I'm still roughly in the low 150s pounds, which is like a very high 60 kilo, low 70 kilo bracket, I think, in kilograms. I'm not very good with conversions, but I think that's it. And then 1 week later, after eating more and being pretty much the same body weight, I got 140 for 10 and 150 for 6. And those numbers will go up weekly. They literally will. It's a movement pattern thing that's just going to get nailed over the next coming weeks. But yeah, like, it's pretty cool to see strength come back. And I'm a firm believer that the reason why I've got half decent legs is because I've got a decent squat.
Yeah, definitely.
And when people ask me, like, you know, do you feel that in your quads? The biggest telltale is the fact that, because obviously it's partly because it's a new movement. I haven't squatted in, like, you know, good 4 or 5 months. But the day after squatting, for the last 2 weeks, I've been fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
My quads are wrecked today, absolutely wrecked. And the reason why I'm now training, so a lot of people have asked me about my rest days. I'm taking at least 1, if not 2 rest days a week, but it's more so looking like 2 at the moment, because when I was prepping, because I wasn't doing as much bigger compound moves and I had to move more so to machines, my volume came up. So I was doing more volume when I was prepping, and now I'm doing less volume with much higher intensities. So the recovery demand of that is way greater. Hence why, again, a lot of people have asked me about my calories. How are you eating so much? Well, the recovery demands of big compound moves are way greater than fluffing around on a shite machine. They just are. Like, the EPOC, or energy post-exercise oxygen consumption thing, that's quite relative to the intensity. So hence why, you know, when you recover from HIIT, there's a greater EPOC. So the calorie burn after training in terms of the recovery demand is much higher, therefore calorie intake much higher. There are some variants. So there's obviously individuals that have different metabolisms. But when we look across the board, do strong people generally eat a lot? Yeah. Like, generally, yeah. Like, when you're really, really strong, you have to eat a lot of food. Because the recovery demands are high. Even when, like, obviously, because a lot of people say, oh, you know, well, volume's going to be very glycogen demanding. The more volume we do, the greater sort of glycogen depletion we get, the more you have to eat. To recover from that one training bout. But over the course of the day, I think someone that was lifting heavier with greater intensity will burn more calories across the entire day than someone that's just going in doing a load of pump and squeezy work for 2 hours. It's not the length of time that you train, it's what you do in that time. So for example, me and Jack trained legs for like 90 minutes on Friday, and I had legitimately about 1,800 to 2,000 calories worth of sushi after that, and alongside all my normal meals, bar one, so I took out one for the sushi, I probably had about 850 grams of carbs on that day, and I woke up 0.8 heavier. And considering the amount of sodium in that meal, and the fact that I started introducing creatine on that day as well, there's probably zero weight gain. And Jack was like, I'm not surprised. It's like, one thing that I'd like to cover my end in this update is just It's so funny seeing the diversity in people's ability to eat and appetite. Because right now my training day carbs are like 700 to 750, and if you ask me to eat more, I could eat more. Like genuinely, I could eat more. And if
Just
you
lost you a bit, AJ.
can you still hear me now?
Ah, there you go. You've come back. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some background noise you're in. So yeah, if you ask me to eat more carbohydrate, I could eat more. Give me 4 more bagels of an evening, I could eat them.
Easy, yeah.
But I'm having some clients, like I won't name names because obviously that's not the point of this. I have some clients that are on 200 grams of carbs a day, males, 2,500 calories coming out of the show, and they've lost their appetite.
Oh God, really?
Yeah,
How do you lose your appetite?
It's so funny seeing
get it.
it's funny seeing the diversity in what people can eat. It really is, as a coach.
You know, I had this.
It's very, very interesting
With somebody as well today,
I don't
right?
know.
Because like, I'm actually worried I'm going to be reducing my calories a little bit this next week, which I'll actually update everybody on.
Oh, okay. Let me know.
Yeah. You know the reason why, but I haven't
Oh.
made it all public yet. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to be taking some time off training.
Yep.
From tomorrow, and it's probably going to be for about 2 weeks, and because of that I'm just going to reduce my calories a little bit.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, not by a lot, and it's going to come from my carbohydrates mostly, because obviously I'm on a crap load of carbohydrates, so I want to keep my protein high and I want to keep my fat high in order to recover and obviously keep my calories up as well, but I don't need all of those carbohydrates.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so I'll update people on that. But I'm actually quite worried about dropping like 600 calories, because it's like I'm on 3.6 at the moment and I am starving. And by the time I go to bed, it's like, Jesus Christ, I've got to go to bed, because otherwise I am going to eat the fridge.
That's the same as me. Like, I don't get how that's possible, because I finish up the day and I'm like, I have eaten every 2.5 hours. I feel like I'm eating non-stop, but I'm gonna put it out there, and I know that loads of people that are very educated out there will potentially argue this, because we know that in the literature, meal timing hasn't been shown to make a huge difference. But the one difference that I've had this off season comparative to others, and this transitional phase, is 2 things primarily. 1, nutrient quality, and 2, meal timing. I wake up, I start eating at 7 a.m, 6:30 on the dot, and I eat every 2 to 3 hours on the dot perfectly. I feel like there's something that with that regularity of eating promotes a healthy metabolism. There's got to be something going on, because I've never got my food this high. I've never had this good of an appetite. Like, even when I was like in prep, so prep hunger, I mean, I'm pretty close to prep hunger, and I'd refeed with like something like 700 grams of carbs, and I'd do like lower fat than I'm on at the moment, so I'm on like 65 fat, similar to you, and I'd be decently full by the end of that, and it really makes me confused as to why the difference is so diverse in terms of, like, I know that obviously when you're prepping, some things are different hormonally. I know that when you're coming out of a prep, you have different food focuses. You're more aware of hunger because you haven't got the prep goal and all of that jazz. But what my take home, my pass on to the listeners is, if you have the ability to nail meal frequency and meal timing and get your body into a routine, so like routine with when you eat your meals, routine with your food selection, and then routine with your bedtime and your wake time, I genuinely think you'll set your body up for success.
Definitely.
You know, things like my gut health, I don't get any bloating or anything like that. You know, I'm a small guy. I'm not like a 200-pound monster putting away all this food. You know, and Jack said to me when he took my pictures the other day, and it's funny, we've kind of had similar phases out, because he said to me, he was like, you look really, really good everywhere, but your stomach doesn't look good. And I was like, I know, like there's something about my stomach that doesn't look good. It's just not there. It's just like I've got abs when I flex them hard, but if I'm not on them, my stomach looks like really, like it looks bloated, but I don't feel bloated, and it's because
Probably because of the amount of
it's the
food
food
you're actually
volume.
taking in.
It's the food volume. My carbohydrates have almost doubled, and I said to Jack, it's probably the carbohydrates, and he was like, no shit. And so
Do you look watery? Do your abs look watery?
Yeah, I'd say so. But I think that's more so to do with some body fat coming back on, because at the end of the day, I've gained like 5 pounds. So that's not all muscle tissue. Like there's maybe a pound that I've gained. Well, not new muscle tissue, by the way, guys. That's none of that. There's none of that rebound shit. It's like when you come out of a show, because you increase calories, you get into a surplus again. The ability to regain lost tissue is at its peak. And muscle memory is at its peak, so you can actually regain lost tissue that you lost in the prep. So hence why if you follow a very strict reverse diet, some people look like they just get bigger and leaner. It's because they just regain a load of lost tissue. So I've probably regained like a pound and a half lost tissue, and then 4 pounds of fat. But if I hadn't gained that 4 pounds of fat, I wouldn't be able to get under a squat bar, and I wouldn't be able to deadlift well, you know. So I wouldn't be able to sit here and do a podcast without feeling like, when's my next meal? So like, you know, it was necessary. But yeah, it's just interesting. The whole diversity of what people can handle nutrients wise it mesmerises me. It really does.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to a bit of mentality as well, isn't it? Because it's like I was speaking to my client. I've put her on 1,600 calories because she came to me as a brand new client. Starbucks. She came to me as a brand new client, and she was only actually putting away about 900 calories a day. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
I bet she wasn't even hungry on that either.
No, she wasn't, you know, and I've put her calories up just for literally, she's still going to be in a deficit with what she's doing, and, you know, the amount of, for a BMR rate and everything else like that, you know, all the funky equations that you need, but realistically she's still going to be in a deficit, but mentally she's still struggling to get those foods in. And we've sat down and had a big chat about it this morning, and just basically saying, is it because you are scared of carbs, or afraid of fats, or afraid of the whole calories in general, because you think that if you eat this amount of calories you're going to get fat? And she's like, oh, actually, yeah, probably. So I think it also comes down to the mentality, because your mental or brain power as such, or your willpower, is really, really strong when it comes to actually putting things in. Because it's like, even me, you know that you guys, I'm always dead honest with you guys, but when I go out for a meal, I do constantly kind of get this little guilt trip and go, oh, well, should I be having this? Because it's not something that I'm really used to having. And that mental power is then kind of saying, well, maybe you shouldn't have it. And it takes a lot of willpower for me to kind of overcome that little voice in my head to say, well, actually, no, I want it because I want to enjoy the experience with my family. I know that this particular meal is not going to be detrimental to my overall progress, overall goals, and it really is kind of talking yourself out of it. And I've been dealing with this for a really long time. So people who are just coming out of bikini show prep or photo shoot prep on stupid low calories, and then all of a sudden their coach says, you know what, double your calories. That's got to be fucking hard.
Scary, man. Yeah,
right? And especially these people who just don't want to lose their abs, you know, so the more calories they eat, the more cardio they do to offset it.
Fuck, yeah.
It happens a lot.
It does. People at the end of the day are just scared to eat, so they try and work some way around that. So either they do more. There's now, with me, my natural reaction to more food, and most people's, you have basically people have differing amounts of this. It's the impact that your NEAT has on the upregulation of metabolism. So as you increase calories, you change the way that you act in a day. So for example, I might not do this hand movement when I'm on 3,000 calories, and I might do it now that I'm on more. And the amount that happens is different, like I said, individual to individual. So I see it a lot in individuals that do inherently struggle to gain, that they adapt, but then they also know the energy balance equation too much, so they actually just try to combat the excess calories by either doing ridiculous volumes in the gym, which is not going to be good for growth at all, or trying to sort of like, I don't know, go through phases which allow them to sort of not make any progress, if you get what I mean. I see, my personal opinion is that going through phases, like, and I know that a lot of people preach potential phases where you don't really do anything and you don't really gain any weight and you just sort of stay steady. Unless you're doing that for a reason, for example, you're a prime reason why I would look to potentially do that. Your training stimulus is reduced. You actually are in some body parts, you won't be able to train them at all.
Correct.
And that is an environment where I would see potential calorie maintenance to be an option, or at least roughly maintaining body comp, whether weight changes or not. Now, people that actively look to hold body weight when the underlying goal is maximum muscle mass, I think that's a fucking waste of time, to be honest.
Absolutely, and you're going to be wasting a lot of time by doing it. It's like people who kind of walk off stage, have a binge, and then kind of go, right, I'll be in a surplus for a few weeks, but holy shit, I'm gaining a load of body fat, so now I'm going to do a mini cut 4 weeks after show. That is like the most stupidest thing I've ever seen and heard of, but yet it happens all the time.
And you know what?
The reason why.
That's why they're on low food though, all the time. That's why they
build it back up.
They get to their next prep and they wonder why they're still on low calories. It's
and
like
they haven't made any changes to their physique as well.
It's like no shit, Sherlock. You treated your body like crap. You need to treat your body well.
The reason why me and AJ are obviously getting really strong really quickly and making those gains and making the progress that we do is because we're dedicated to a certain phase. So since coming off stage, I have constantly been in a surplus. I have never, ever reduced my calories. I've never actually been in a maintenance period. I have constantly been in a surplus, and I've kept that. So that was from the BNBF British Finals. So obviously it's a long time, right? We're looking at, 12 weeks now? It was the first weekend in October anyway. So
something like that. Good couple of months.
Yeah, that's it. So but dedicating yourself to being in a surplus is, do you know what? I'm actually telling a lie. The only time where I came out of a surplus and went down to a maintenance level was over that weekend where I was really struggling to get all of my food in. So I took a quote-unquote diet break and just ate intuitively.
Oh, okay.
Now, so when I ate intuitively over those kind of 3 days, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I still realistically stuck to all of my regular foods that I had, but I just stopped eating when I was full, and because I didn't want that distension in my gut, because it just felt uncomfortable. But when I did that and I actually calculated everything, I only lost about maybe 200 calories over those 3 days, which was enough to just give my gut a little bit of a rest. But then from the Monday, I was ravenous and increased my calories even more, so I was still in that surplus. So you've got to think about what your goals are at a certain phase and just be dedicated to that phase. If you want to gain, be in a surplus. If you want to lose, be in a deficit. If you want to maintain, stick a fucking maintenance. But don't swap, change, choose your ideas, like program hopping. You're nutritionally hopping. Sorry, I sound like I'm on a bit of a rant at that point.
No, you should be. You should be, because it pisses me off royally, especially when people really fucking need to improve and they don't see the grass is greener where people are actually fucking making improvements. Like one of the biggest guys that I know that's still an amateur, it's called Sam Slack. He put up a photo of him like at the peak of one of his gaining phase. He's actually had a really tough time as of late, and he speaks about it openly, so I know that it'll be fine with me mentioning it. But he has a really tough time with gaining phases. He has a really tough time with losing condition, And to be honest, he's on too low calories for what he weighs and the amount of tissue he has. And the reason why he's on low calories is because he goes back and forwards too much, and that's he knows that he damn well knows that. But when you look at that guy and you look at where he built the most of his tissue, and it was when he was very, very, very strong, and combined with a pretty fluffy physique. I mean, he was thick and fluffy, but that's where he built the most of his tissue. Especially if you are like a younger guy, like you're my age, like you're 18 to like early 20s, looking at the older bodybuilders that are looking to stay leaner year round is a absolutely piss poor idea. Because Alberto Nunez does it well. He puts up a lot of old pictures of him when he was like 18, 19, when he probably built the majority of his tissue, and he was thick. Like, you don't see Alberto like that now. But yeah, hopefully I'm gonna show it again. Not that I didn't have to do it last time, but last time I got pretty heavy. I also got pretty strong. And also, if you compare my pictures from 2015 to 2017, well, guess what? I built tissue. And did I have to diet off a little bit too much? I think that's the only thing that I'd do differently, is I'd start in a bit of a leaner condition. That's the only thing. I'd still get that heavy though. I'd still push up.
But you'll be doing it in a different way this time, because when you got heavy last time, you were eating ice cream and
of course. That stuff's going to change. That stuff's going to change, and that will promote even better results. You know, so
exactly.
But yeah, I think we're coming up to like 40 minutes now. Should we wrap up? Have we got anything?
I reckon we should do.
Have you got anything else that you wanted to discuss at all specifically?
Not specifically for this week, I don't think.
Okay.
I would just bringing back the home point really about my differences that I put into my training. I'm doing some heavy lifting, some strongman, some powerlifting, lots of power. And I would say that people in the off season, if you want to try something different, try it now.
Yeah.
This is the best time to try something different. So if you have a coach and they are, actually this is a really good point that I do want to bring up. If you have a coach and they are coaching you in your off season and you want to try something different that they have not programmed, please talk to your coach and tell them that this is what you want to try. And if they turn around and they say, well, I just want you to do this, or what's the fucking point in you having me as a coach if you want to do this and do that and do the other, take a step back and think about your relationship with your coach. And I know the person who I'm talking about here knows exactly what I'm on about, so I really do hope that he listens. However, but that is the point. I wanted to try powerlifting, so I spoke to Zach, and he said, you know what, I don't know how to program you for powerlifting or strongman, so if you want to do that, I'm not the best guy for you.
Good man.
That's the reason. Yeah, exactly, right?
Good man, be honest.
Absolutely. It didn't ever detract from my programming that I did with him with my bodybuilding stuff, hence the reason why we put in 2-a-days. He still looked after things and still said, right, well, on these days that you're doing 2-a-days, you're going to have more calories. And, he knows that I went to another person, which was Phil, in order to do my programming for me on my strength days, which Zach had no issue with.
Perfect.
But that is because I am open, I'm honest, and I speak to Zach on a daily basis, and I want to try different things. Now, if you're in a prep and then you say, guess what, I want to try powerlifting, okay, really? Don't be so fucking stupid. But if you're in your off season and you want to try something new, please talk to your coach, because life is too short to live with regrets.
Absolutely.
You will regret not doing something or not trying something when you have the time to try it.
Yep.
So that is my pro tip for today, as well as AJ's pro tip of don't overdo it on the cinnamon in case you want hypos.
And meal timing, a serious one. It's not just going to send you hypo.
No, exactly. But that's the pro tip for today. So again, do our snapshot then, guys. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. I expect lots of those. Keep up with your anabolic chippies. Keep up with your anabolic cinnamon, or hypoglycemic cinnamon as it is. Keep up with your keep it up with your anabolic paprika that is now kind of hitting the scenes. I'm loving the anabolic paprika.
The smoked one, yeah.
Smoked, obviously, gotta be smoked. And any questions, as per usual, put them in the comment box, and we will all speak to you next week.
In a bit. See you later.
In a bit.
Bye.
Bye.